Welcome to the Get Real Podcast, your high-octane boost of full-on reality therapy for personal, business, and investing success with your host, Ron Phillips, because somebody's got to tell it like it is.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Get Real Podcast. Ron Phillips in the same room.
This doesn't happen very often.
As Heather Marchand.
Hello.
I'm in Utah.
Yeah.
And
you're freezing.
Freezing to death. But the mountains are still as impressive as they always were. Just kind of hit you right in the face when you come into town. So
it's true.
If you haven't been here, you should come. Although don't come right now because there's no snow. There's almost no snow.
It's brutal. My husband is dying because he has a season pass and was planning to ski like crazy. And I asked him yesterday, I said, when's the next time it's going to snow? He's like, oh, at least a week. He's so mad.
Yeah. So it's
super lame.
Well, wouldn't come now and think that you're going to ski because, well, I mean, you can ski on the ice that's here.
True.
If you're into that. I'm
Enjoy
way
it.
too old to fall down on ice. I don't like it. But anyway, I'm out here hanging out with Heather, and we've been working like crazy and just
super productive today, man.
Man, it's been a lot of fun. You are catching us on the end of the day, though. You're recording this, guaranteed to be on almost everybody's mind, but most people don't think about it.
Yeah. You texted me yesterday and said, we need to talk about this on the podcast. So I said to him today, I said, Ron, tell me the background. Why did you want to talk about this on the podcast? Because I knew there was a story, because it's pretty unique.
There's always a story. There's always a story. Yeah. I mean, I think what I'd like for everybody to do is just take a second, whether it's, on Facebook or, just like on TV or wherever, right? Wherever these people are. We've all got people that we look up to in our lives who's, everything's just going well, right? They either, if they're business people, they run an amazing business and they, every year it just grows, everything. Tons of people look up to them.
All the vacations.
Yeah. I mean, if you're into the LA thing and all of the actors and actresses, which I really don't get, but if you are, they're always in the best movies.
Yeah.
Their personal life is, I was going to say great, but probably really isn't. And it probably is all over the tabloids that it isn't.
Yeah.
That's probably a really bad set of human beings to pick from. Sorry about that. What I meant was like business people or, people that you look up to, right?
Yeah.
Influencers in your life, whoever they are.
That's true.
Let me think about how you think about those people.
Yeah. I think usually you look at, pictures or whatever and assume that that's their life every day. Right. Day in and day out.
Especially on Facebook.
Yeah.
Because even normal people's lives on Facebook is amazing. So influencers' lives, obviously like above yeah. And
if you have any sort of real looking post, everyone praises you, right? For saying you had a bad day or something. Cause it's so, it's objective, I guess, of how to look at someone else's life and assume that they have it all going on. So the topic you wanted to talk about today, I found to be really interesting because it's something that everyone has in the back of their mind most days, at least when they're browsing social media or, looking at the car next to them. Someone's driving a really nice car. We saw a really nice car today and both of us turned our heads and we're like, wow, it's a brand new, was it a Vet? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was the new Corvette.
Yeah, it was impressive.
I mean, it's an attractive car. In spite of the fact that Chevy built it, it's an attractive car.
So I think it's easy to get bright, shiny objects in our lives and start wishing maybe that we're more like them or something.
Yeah. And so, I mean, this all came up because a really good friend of mine and I had this conversation. We've had this conversation many, many times. And it seems like every single time I go to a mastermind, which, I talk about this all the time on the show. I've talked about it several times on the show about how much they've done for me. One of the things I don't think I've ever talked about is that when I go to these high level masterminds, the one that I just got back from is a bunch of influencers. So they're people who are out there in the public eye and they've got their following and they're teaching something and they're helping people, right? And it's always been kind of funny to me how we put people up on a pedestal. Because when I'm in this room with my peers, and it doesn't matter whether it's this one, it just happened to be this one. When I got back, I said, we need to do a show on this, but it doesn't matter whether I'm this one or another one. All of these people who, most of them, if you're listening to this, you like business, you like real estate, and you dig how they intersect. So you would know these people. These are not people that you wouldn't know. If I said their names, you would go, yeah, like you're probably friends with them on Facebook or follow them on Facebook or whatever the term is, right? Or Twitter or whatever the heck. Probably not Parler right now. Is that thing? You got shut down. Anyway, that's a whole other podcast. You would know these people. And if you heard, when I came back and I told Heather we need to do this show, it was because every single time, at least one, generally multiple of them have, they have these self-doubt thoughts. And these are people who I guarantee you would never think these people have these thoughts.
They're really confident people in life in general. So,
I think I'm a pretty confident guy. These guys are next level, right? So you would never, if I told you their names, which we don't, that's one of the cool things about Mastermind is that whatever is said in that room stays between those people. It's one of the cool things about it that I really, really love. And so while there are tons of stories behind what I'm about to say, I'm not going to tell you specifically those stories about other people. Instead of that, Heather and I are going to share some stories about us. And I just want you to know that I just got back from a mastermind of influencers. Mm-hmm. That's the only people in this mastermind. And 3 of them. If you'd have been a fly on the wall and heard how they were doubting themselves, you'd be like, how in the world can that and funny enough, the rest of us in the room are thinking the same thing, like, what? How can you possibly be doubting yourself right now after all of this success, after all of these things you've done, after having, a few 100,000 followers who love you, right? And listen to everything you say. How can you possibly doubt whether or not you can pull XYZ off?
Yeah. Which is really interesting because I think all of us in some aspect of our lives or another have less confidence. Right? There's just some things that either we're not as good at, or maybe we lack some ambition or whatever, that you eventually you can only be confident in so many areas of your life. Right.
And here's the even crazier piece, because that's 100% true. The craziest thing about this is that what these guys were talking about doing is in their wheelhouse. Like this is
like their genius zone,
right?
Yeah.
And they still have self-limiting beliefs. And Heather and I laugh about this sometimes, but sometimes I'll be on the phone with somebody who's listened to the podcast and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm talking to you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm such a normal dude. This is not even like, I can't right now. Like, I'm just never going to get to the level where I think any more of myself than I do of anyone else. And it's kind of funny because all of us have people that we look up to like that. And if you really knew, you would be, oh, I guess I'm not so bad.
Yeah.
That's the reality. And so I guess, I'll share, and then maybe you can share.
Yeah,
We'll just talk about a little bit about some of ours so that you guys can understand how this is working. So I've been a member of Masterminds now for, 7, 8 years, something like that. Mm-hmm. And you guys know how I feel about them. I spend a lot of money going to them. They've been instrumental in my growth and the growth of my company, and consequently everybody in my companies. And yet, so I go to these mastermind groups and I participate. If I feel like I can help somebody out, I'm going to speak up and I'm going to help people out. Well, I'm kind of a vocal guy and I'm rather opinionated.
Yeah. I've been present with you in masterminds. You speak up and you give it to them straight, for sure.
So because of that, a lot of people, I about 3 years ago, I suggested, man, I really love masterminds. I just love the whole concept. I love being in them. I said, man, I should start one. Well, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. And I told my mastermind group, I told 2 of them I was going to do this. Year passes, and I'm not the guy when I come back every time I haven't done what I said I'm going to do, and I didn't do it. I never did. Like, I would have some other thing to talk about, something else going on in the business, and a reason to push this, forward. And I didn't start the mastermind for over 2 years. Now, finally, somebody actually asked me in my mastermind group. Now, this wouldn't have taken me that long. I would have thrown it right in somebody's face, because that's just how I am. But finally, somebody said, man, what is the problem here? Like, what is going on? And the reality of the situation is I was scared that I was going to fail at it. And they all looked at me and they were like, dude, you give the best. I mean, you give the best advice of these things. What is wrong with you? Why would you even think that? Yeah. And I'm like, I've never done it before. And they're like, dude, you do it every quarter. You come here every quarter. And I'm like, okay. And I still didn't do it. Finally, it took me and my buddy Sean McCloskey, who's been on the podcast several times, and another friend of mine, Craig Fuhr. We all went down and we dreamed up this, this big business vision event. And Sean put it on, did an unbelievable job. If you didn't get a chance to go to that, you should go next year. This year, I think it's going to be in March.
That's March. Okay.
Unbelievable event. One of the best events I'd ever been to. And it's the first time he put it on. And I decided to coach, I decided to do a mastermind that I was already in, Leadership Boardroom. So I run Leadership Boardroom 6, the 6th group of Leadership Boardroom. And it is such a blast. I'm having such a blast doing it. And I'm not going to say it's easy. It's not easy. Nothing that's valuable is easy. But I will say this. The things that I was concerned about, I should have been concerned about other things like logistics and all of that kind of stuff. The part of the mastermind group that I loved, that I actually am pretty good at, is fun for me. I love it. So it really isn't even work. It's so much fun. But it took me 2 years, and then it took me 3 days down in Florida planning it with 2 other people to get it to where I had the courage to even be able to do it. And even then, I didn't do it on my own. Sean helped seed the group.
Feeding you people. Come on, Ron, here's your people. Start your group.
I think if anybody looking from the outside in, nobody would think I would have a problem with that, right? But I did, and I would show up to these meetings and I would say the same thing every single time. I'm just not sure I could pull it off. And once I did it, I absolutely love it. Turns out I'm not too bad at it either. The most fun I have from that is watching these business owners grow in like a quarter so much. It's so much fun to watch that happen. And I gave up 2 years of doing that because I was a wuss. And so I would show up there, and everybody, the funny thing is people see you differently than you see yourself.
Very true.
A lot of times people can see in you what you can't see in yourself. And I'm telling you that the people that you're looking up to right now, same thing. Absolute 100% same thing. And you've experienced that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think for me, when you said, think of an example you want to share, I'm like, man, it's hard for me to limit what one to share. Because this has been,
there's a few, we all have a few.
Just a few. But this has been a characteristic of my life. I was not a very confident kid. In fact, I was really shy, which most people that know me are really surprised by that, because I tend to love being in a crowd these days and chatting with lots of people. So I love people. So I've had to really push myself outside of my comfort zone, what feels like most of my life, which is interesting. So a couple that came to mind though, when we first started talking about this, was when I was pregnant with my twins. So my twins turn 11 this next week.
Oh,
so right. It's been a long time. Well, but I was on bed rest and you came to my house and you said, Heather, I think you should move into the sales side of our business and do the property consultant side. You're going to have, newborns at home. And I thought that was the worst idea ever. and
right now, there, all of you out there who are clients of Heather's, how good she is, right? You guys all know how good she is, but this was the inception of this. And
this went on for a long time. This wasn't like similar to your story, Ron. Like I said, okay, this is a good fit for my personality. Like it checked all the boxes, but it took me about a full year to get my actual real estate license. So the twins were about they just turned a year old when I got my license. It was like a week later. Granted, I had newborns and they're my first kids. So that part played into it for sure. I was totally overwhelmed. But once I even got there, I was completely terrified to get on the phone, to the point that I would literally think of anything else to do in my day. And I didn't think that I knew enough information. So Ron, you would tell me, you probably don't remember all this, but you would tell me over and over again, like, Heather, you have enough information. You've been doing this for a really long time. You just haven't done this position. But I've been in marketing and several other departments, and I love people and I love helping people, but I could not get past how I sounded, or I thought about my words too much. And so I would get off the phone and I would be sweating with so much fear. And that went on for at least a year, maybe 2 years before I felt comfortable. And just the other day I was training a new hire and I told them how I used to be so terrified, and that it's so weird to me because I don't know how long it's been since I even broke a sweat or got even worked up and dialing a number, right? To start talking to someone about what we do. It's just so natural now. But back then, I would try to think of everything I needed to do before I got on the phone. So.
Yeah. And so anybody else in the RP Capital team that's out there who's supposed to be getting their license should, if you're listening to the podcast now, don't wait 2 years. Don't wait 2 years.
I mean, it's been the biggest blessing in my family's life. My husband, I was telling Ron earlier today, he met with the school district today to start working with families that need his help. He's a psychologist. And I was going to say this in our conversation and I didn't, but it's because I took a leap and did something outside of my comfort zone that my husband's not working right now and is able to help other people, right? So it's a function of what I've done as the company, what Ron has allowed me to do and pushed me to do as a mentor, but also as a friend, to push me out of my comfort zone so that my husband has this possibility. So it feels like I am serving and helping other people, even though my husband's actually putting in the work, because it's kind of cultivated and created space, I guess, for that even to happen, which is pretty cool. So lots of benefits.
I think most of the time when I was helping her, it was really friendly. I'm almost positive.
Yeah.
Sometimes I say things so direct that people think it's not friendly, but it really was friendly.
You were very direct, and it was good for me though. But you would say it with kindness, but for sure you'd say, Heather, stop and get on the phone. Stop. Over. Eventually, I think you were so tired of my phone calls. So I think for the lessons in that for me is surrounding yourself with like-minded people that not like-minded. I hate that phrase actually, because you were not like-minded to me back then. I had a lot of limiting beliefs and was really pretty self-conscious of myself compared to how I am now. And direct conversations typically in the past have been really uncomfortable for me. And I've had to have more and more direct conversations and tough conversations, or crucial conversations, I guess.
Great book.
Say. Yeah, that's
Great
right.
book. There's a little book tag.
And so I think having someone in your life that sees your potential and allows you to push yourself, but in a way that helps you be better, right? So
yeah, I mean, cool. I think so. If you're sitting out there and you're going, okay, yeah, I can relate to. Everybody out there probably is saying, yeah, I can relate to this story in some way. This happens over and over and over again, and it's true. It happens to all of us. So my point in bringing this up is that I think sometimes we all, because we see ourselves differently than other people see us, we don't level up because we don't believe we can. When everyone else around us is wondering why we don't level up because they know that we can. What you need to do, and what I've learned to do, is to surround myself with people who can recognize that I need to level up, call me on my BS, and help me level up.
Yeah.
And that's important. I mean, that's critical to any kind of growth, is to get outside of your comfort zone. Growth doesn't happen inside the comfort zone. It happens outside. But to have someone who can support you while you're doing that, because that's hard enough to get outside your comfort zone anyway. If you don't have somebody who can help you with that, it's going to take longer and longer and longer. Or maybe you just don't do it at all.
For sure. I think one other side of this that I haven't talked about is the limiting belief that is tied to someone else, that they have an unfair advantage, or that someone else has something that it's not fair. It's not an even playing field. And I thought of this because I was once in a training with a new hire again, and I was talking about how when I was doing cold calls, and he turned to me and he said, "You've never made a cold phone call like to a lead that had, reached out to our company." And I looked at him and I just laughed. I said, "Wow, I mean, we have people that make that initial phone call now within our company and set appointments for this like consultant side. And that's only been the last couple of years."
That hasn't always been the case.
Hasn't always been the case. But I could tell when I told him that I had done that for years and years, it crushed him, because you use those limiting beliefs kind of, I don't know, inversely, so to speak, of I am not able to do what that person is doing because X, Y, Z.
Because they're getting the Glengarry leads and I'm getting the crap ones, right? But yeah, it is very much like that. And so if you're out there right now and your friends are those people, if your friends that you hang out with are the ones that make excuses because so-and-so obviously just has it easier than they do because of whatever, those people will rub off on you and you will become them. I'm just telling you, that's the way it works. Complainers don't hang around positive people, not because they don't want to, but because positive people don't like them.
Yes.
They choose to not hang around with people like that. So if you're thinking this through right now and you're like, yeah, most of my friends are that way, it's going to be really hard for you to level up. It really is, for you to grow and become more. Because if you do, they're just going to be angry at you that you did it and they didn't. That's really how it's going to end up. So I think it's really important to get around people who are going to celebrate your success, push you toward that success, celebrate with you when you hit it, and then also not allow you to be stagnant once you've hit level 1 or level 2 or whatever it is that you're shooting for. I think that's so critical. And what we put in our brains is also really important, right? So turn the news off and go get something that puts some positive in your brain.
100%.
I recommend this book to people quite a bit who have stinking thinking.
Southern boy sounds, stinking thinking.
Stinking thinking. If you got stinking thinking and you don't know how to turn it off, there's a book that I really like. I was just talking to Heather about it. There is a part of the book that you kind of got to get through. Anyway, the book is Untethered Soul. I've recommended it to several people, actually a lot of people. And most of them come back and say, wow, that was really eye-opening. It talks about the voice in our head, and that voice isn't always the positive voice. Most of the time, actually, it's the one that tells you how everything is going to go straight to where and as quickly as possible. And we listen to it. We give it so much area in our brains, which is really too bad. So you couple that with hanging out with people who basically are the same thing. It's almost impossible to become a better human being under those circumstances. So Untethered Soul will help you figure out what to do with the voice. We all have it, by the way. I mean, if it talks to you in 5 different voices, then that may be a problem. But everybody's got a voice, right, that talks to them in their head. The second thing is you got to figure out how to. I'm not telling you to just walk away from your friends. That's not what I'm saying. But get some more friends who will help you.
Have them read The Untethered Soul.
Yeah, give them the book too, and then they come back and say that's a bunch of crap. And you go, yeah, that's what I thought you'd say. I'm out.
Yeah, just start a book club with your friends. There's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like this was really, really important. It's really timely. People this time of year are setting goals and they're trying to become better. I think everybody starts out with pretty good intentions on all of that. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it just, if it doesn't work out, people come up with some kind of a reason why not. And then, there we are, right? Don't be that person. And don't think that other people who have done what you want to do got there because they did anything but work really, really hard and probably did stuff you didn't do.
Yeah.
Or weren't willing to do, because that's probably what happened. And that means, the good news is that means you probably can do it if you want, because they're probably not any smarter than you. They're probably not any better than you, even though they've got a platform and a whole bunch of people love them or whatever. They're not any different than you, and you can do it if you want.
100%. I agree.
Moral of the story. I've been in enough rooms to know most of those people you look up to have got some serious warts. So for what it's worth, you can do it too. Some of those guys are really not even that bright. Okay. On that
level playing field right there.
On that awesome note. So those are the things you can do. Level up your friends, put good stuff in your brain, turn off the bad stuff, turn the things off you can control. Mm-hmm. And then, like always, if you love this episode,
please do it.
Hit a little like button on there. And then, guys, really, really appreciate you guys sharing this out. It's growing, and we're getting more and more comments. I just told somebody on the phone today. I told my bookkeeper today. I said, if she listens to the show, did you know Carrie listens to the show?
I did not know that.
Yeah, Carrie listens to the show.
Hi, Carrie.
Hey,
Shout
Carrie.
out to Carrie.
I said, hey, if there's anything you want us to talk about, make sure you tell us, because we will actually talk about it. So you know what I decided to talk about? What? Bookkeeping. We're going to do a show on bookkeeping. I'm going to have Carrie on, and we're going to do a show about bookkeeping.
Oh, I thought you were joking. This
I am not
perfect.
joking.
It is.
You don't want to know why? You want to know why I'm not joking? Because almost every business that's having problems, you want to know why they have problems?
They don't know their money.
It's generally not an income problem. Mm-hmm. It is because they don't know their numbers. Yeah. And so anyway, we're going to talk about how important it is, and she's going to talk about some of the mistakes that business owners make. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great show. So thanks, Carrie. It's out there now, Carrie. So if you were joking, it's too late. We've already put it out there.
Didn't commit.
All right, everybody. So until next time, get out there and make something happen.
Do it. Have a good day.
This has been the Get Real Podcast. To subscribe and for more information, including a list of all episodes, go to getrealestatesuccess.com.